Today is March 3rd, 2026, and this is Read Through the Bible.
Hi, everyone.
And you're leaving on another trip today.
I am. So today I'm going to California to visit my parents, and I'm bringing with me our oldest daughter, Carissa, and her 3 kids, who are ages 4, 3, and 1.
Yeah. So you're not traveling alone, you're traveling with them. And one of the things I remember when we used to go out and travel your folks in California with all our kids, you had like airplane presents for them.
Yeah, I did. So the idea was just to help pass the time, give them something to look forward to, and it was always something they could do on the plane. And so it just became a tradition each year that.
Yeah, and so it was when they took off, and as soon as the seatbelt line went, doo,
then it was time to open your first gift.
And so the kids were very attuned to when that seatbelt light would turn on, because we're going to stable out, and sometimes like SR, our oldest son, you gave him Legos oftentimes.
Right.
And so it was really helpful for him. So anyway, you're off again, and we'll connect and we'll see how things go in California with you. I'm very envious of this trip because I love going to California. I love visiting your folks. Yeah. Okay, so we're reading today in 2 Chronicles, just one chapter, chapter 29. Let's talk about Hezekiah.
Okay, he's a good king.
He is a good king.
So we had Jotham in 27 was a good king. Ahaz in 28 was a very bad king. Very, very bad.
And now Hezekiah.
And now 29, Hezekiah is good.
And also remember, the Chronicles is written to help the people from Judah realize the priority of the throne and the temple. Mm-hmm. And we're going to see Hezekiah here putting his aim first off towards the temple.
Right. And we're going to really emphasize the good of the good and the bad of the bad.
Yep. Hezekiah began to reign when he was 25 years old. And he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Abijah, the daughter of Zechariah, and he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, according to all that David, his father, had done. Okay, so notice here, now beginning in verse 3, which, Yvonne, you can read, is all about his priority. I think about like when we shift our presidents from Democrat, Republican, Democrat, there's this big switcheroo. Mm-hmm. And the first 100 days of the presidency, like the incoming president can think about all its predecessor did and like try to undo all the executive orders, try to set a new executive orders, and really set the new agenda. And Ahaz, in verse 24, had shut the doors of the house of the Lord. And now we're going to find Hezekiah cleaning up the house of the Lord and putting it back into place.
And there's a lot to clean up. Ahaz was very intentional about shutting down the worship of the Lord and promoting the worship of idols. So, Verse 3, in the first year of his reign, in the first month, he opened the doors of the house of the Lord and repaired them. He brought in the priests and the Levites and assembled them in the square on the east and said to them, "Hear me, Levites. Now, consecrate yourselves and consecrate the house of the Lord, the God of your fathers, and carry out the filth from the holy place. For our fathers have been unfaithful and have done what was evil in the sight of the Lord our God. They have forsaken him and have turned away their faces from the habitation of the Lord and turned their backs. They also shut the doors of the vestibule and put out the lamps and have not burned incense or offered burnt offerings in the holy place to the God of Israel. Therefore, the wrath of the Lord came upon Judah and Jerusalem, and he has made them an object of horror, of astonishment, and of hissing, as you see with your own eyes.
Wow.
For behold, our fathers have fallen by the sword, and our sons and our daughters and our wives are in captivity for this. Now it is in my heart to make a covenant with the Lord, the God of Israel, in order that his fierce anger may turn away from us. My sons, do not now be negligent, for the Lord has chosen you to stand in his presence, to minister to him, and to be his ministers, and to make offerings to him."
Yeah. They're just rallying them up to, let's clean the temple, let's really restore its worship. And this is helpful for the people of Judah to realize that this is top priority as they come back into the land. And Jerusalem has been decimated, but they need to build this temple again.
Right. And this was especially to the Levites, because verse 5, he says, "Hear me, Levites."
Yep.
And then he says all of that.
And then verse 12, then the Levites arose, Mahath the son of Amasai, and Joel the son of Azariah, of the sons of the Kohathites, and of the sons Merari, Kish the son of Abdi, and Azariah the son of Jehaliel, and of the Gershonites, Joah the son of Zimmah, and Eden the son of Joah, and of the sons of Elizaphan, Shimri and Jewel, and of the sons of Asaph, Zechariah and Mattaniah, and of the sons of Heman, Jehuel and Shimi, and of the sons of Jeduthun, Shemaiah and Uzziel. They gathered their brothers and consecrated themselves and went in as the Lord had commanded by the words of the Lord to cleanse the house of the Lord. The priests went into the inner part of the house of the Lord to cleanse it, and they brought out all the uncleanness that they had found in the temple of the Lord into the court of the house of the Lord, and the Levites took it and carried it out to the brook Kidron. They began to consecrate on the first day of the first month, and on the 8th day of the month they came to the vestibule of the Lord. Then for 8 days they consecrated the house of the Lord. And on the 16th day of the first month they had finished. Then they went into Hezekiah the king and said, "We have cleansed all the house of the Lord, the altar of the burnt offering, and all its utensils, and the table for the showbread, and all its utensils. All the utensils that King Ahaz discarded in his reign when he was faithless, we have made ready and consecrated, and behold, they are before the altar of the Lord." So first they cleansed the temple, remade all the utensils or replaced them and put them all back, all set up. And now, as the ESV heading says, Hezekiah restores temple worship. He's going to go and just start it afresh again.
Wow. What a difference one person can make.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Verse 20, Then Hezekiah the king rose early and gathered the officials of the city and went to the house of the Lord. And they brought 7 bulls, 7 rams, 7 lambs, and 7 male goats for a sin offering for the kingdom and for the sanctuary and for Judah. And he commanded the priests, the sons of Aaron, to offer them on the altar of the Lord. So they slaughtered the bulls, and the priests received the blood and threw it against the altar. And they slaughtered the rams, and their blood was thrown against the altar. And they slaughtered the lambs, and their blood was thrown against the altar. Then the goats for the sin offering were brought to the king in the assembly, and they laid their hands on them. And the priests slaughtered them and made a sin offering with their blood on the altar to make atonement for all Israel. For the king commanded that the burnt offering and the sin offering should be made for all Israel.
Yeah, if you're looking to understand those, you go back to the book of Leviticus and the different offerings that they had offered, and there were burnt offerings and sin offerings that they're kind of throwing all together here, just seeking to consecrate the temple. And he stationed the Levites, this is verse 25, in the house of the Lord with cymbals, harps, and lyres, according to the commandment of David and of Gad the king's seer and Nathan the prophet. And this goes back to when the temple was kind of first dedicated, or they received all the funds. And they had all of the musicians come and just rejoice at the cleansing of the temple and the institution of the temple sacrifice. For the commandment was from the Lord through his prophets. The Levites stood with the instruments of David, and the priests with the trumpets. Then Hezekiah commanded that the burnt offering be offered on the altar, and when the burnt offering began, the song of the Lord began also, and the trumpets, accompanied by the instruments of David, king of Israel. The whole assembly worshipped, and the singers sang, and the trumpeters sounded. All this continued until the burnt offering was finished. When the offering was finished, the king and all who were present with him bowed themselves and worshipped. And Hezekiah, the king, and the officials commanded the Levites to sing praises to the Lord with the words of David and of Asaph the seer, and they sang praises with gladness, and they bowed down and worshipped.
If it's singing praises with the words of David and Asaph, it's probably the Psalms.
Yeah, a lot of Psalms beginning in chapter 73, 74, 75. A lot of those are his Psalms, yep.
Yeah. Okay, verse 31. Then Hezekiah said, "You have now consecrated yourselves to the Lord. Come near, bring sacrifices and thank offerings to the house of the Lord." And the assembly brought sacrifices and thank offerings, and all who were of a willing heart brought burnt offerings. The number of the burnt offerings that the assembly brought was 70 bulls, 100 rams, and 200 lambs. All these were for a burnt offering to the Lord. And the consecrated offerings were 600 bulls and 3,000 sheep. But the priests were too few and could not flay all the burnt offerings.
Wow.
So until other priests had consecrated themselves, their brothers the Levites helped them until the work was finished. For the Levites were more upright in heart than the priests in consecrating themselves. Besides the great number of burnt offerings, there was the fat of the peace offerings, and there were the drink offerings for the burnt offerings. Thus the service of the house of the Lord was restored. And Hezekiah and all the people rejoiced because God had provided for the people. For the thing came about suddenly. It's an interesting verse.
Yeah, it came about suddenly, kind of like
I think just the
kind of all came together. The change quickly.
Yeah, very like within the first month.
2 weeks. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
16 days, and everything was consecrated. So, before the first month was over.
And what a change!
Yeah,
To go from intentional wickedness and idolatry to intentional cleansing and the worship of God.
Yeah, so I think that the key is back in chapter 28. Ahaz shut up the doors, chapter 28, verse 24. Mm-hmm. He shut up the doors of the house of the Lord. And chapter 29, verse 3, that Hezekiah opened the doors of the house of the Lord. Mm-hmm. So even that verse might be a helpful summary. Thinking about chapter 29 is all about Hezekiah opening the doors of the house of the Lord.
Right.
And that includes cleansing the temple and then restoring the worship as the ESV has it.
Right. And with restoring the worship, it's the offerings, and then it's also a lot about the music.
Yeah. Okay, and we'll continue the story of Hezekiah tomorrow. We will see you then. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.